Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the TANGZU Wan'er. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but my apologies if I'm not. Anyway, this is the latest IEM from TANGZU, and a single dynamic that was anticipated with some expectation, as not only the price that it was going to be launched at was an interesting price, but also the tuning that was leaked before the launch was one that really kind of appealed and caught people's attention. Anyway, before I carry on with that, let me just quickly show you the box. Very typical TANGZU type of presentation. We have gotten used to them treating us well in that aspect. You open it up, it brings this kind of cloth with the same motif on it. The IEMs came over there. Inside, two more boxes, so there's no carrying case. One brings the accessories, which is a whole bunch of tips, which I'm not going to showing. And here is the cable, which I haven't even bothered using. It's a cable. I can actually show you. Sorry, 1 second, guys. So it's a cable which, I mean, for this kind of amount, for this amount of money, we can't really expect too much. But this is a cable which is kind of on the level of the cable that you find in some KZ, the ZES, for example, where is a cable that's kind of similar to this. Anyway, very basic, very simple. Nothing. Well, for $20, you can't really expect the world, right? Anyway, that's that. As I say, there's no carrying case, but again, you can't really expect the world for the amount of money that it's being asked. These are the IEMs themselves. I'm using a Hakuge modular cable setup. Nice cable, really nice cable. This one really nice, I have to say. Not too expensive. If I'm not mistaken, this is for $45, so it's okay for a modular setup. As for the IEMs themselves, well, plastic shell. The driver looks the part. If you actually look at the driver inside there, it does look menacing. Let's put it that way. Nice, large 10mm driver. The shells. What can I say about the shells? Well, look, this is just a little bit of an opinion. It's not that the shells look bad or anything of the sort. This is the quality of the shells that you get on for example, the QKZ, the HBB collab, the same quality of shell that you get on a KZ EX Ultra. So it's okay, it's fine. Is it the shell that I think should have been implemented by TANGZU? No, it's not. I firmly believe that if a brand like TRN can make the MT3 with a metal shell, okay, and sell this for $16, I don't see there having been any issue with them having used maybe the shell of the Shimin Lee with a different faceplate, and in that manner maintained that quality that TANGZU has kind of started to establish itself. Okay, any one of its IEMs, okay, be it the Yuan Li, the Shimin Li, the Buzetian, they all have this very premium look to their shells. Perhaps the one that, well, it's not that it's not on the same level. It is. It's just different. And apparently now with the new retake on that specific model, it will be a full metal shell. Is the Buzetian. The Buzetian is a mix of a metal and a resin shell, resin plastic shell. So it's a pity, in my opinion, that they didn't maybe consider more seriously having put this in a metal shell. That's just my little opinion, let's put it that way. Also, a little bit less money maybe could have been spent on the actual packaging, and put forward towards offering them the metal shell and a little minor carrying case, even if it was something along the lines of the carrying case that comes with the Moondrop Chu or something of the sort. But anyway, that's just me, that's just my opinion. And since we have entered this war of budget IEMs wanting to fight over each other to see who's the best, then let's go the whole 9 yards and be the best at everything. Fit is perfect, absolutely nothing wrong with the fit, it fits beautifully. Tip selection is important, yes, and I did find that this this is not a wide bore and it's not a narrow bore. This kind of intermediate tip is the one that, in my opinion, works the best. And what more can I say? Noise isolation is fine as long as you get that nice seal, like I mentioned, which isn't difficult because the IEM really does fit quite nicely. There's no issues with that. And that's that. I mean, that's basically it. On to what we want to know, which is sound, and how does it compare to the IEMs that I've selected. And I could have selected a lot more IEMs. You guys that follow me know that sometimes I get a little bit carried away with that, and that's precisely what I tried to not do this time, not get too carried away, because otherwise my reviews, they just become ridiculous in terms of their length, and I don't want to bore you guys to death. So what did I select for today's comparison purposes? Sorry, I'm just trying to put this away because it's annoying me being here. There we go, that's much better. OCD, people, this is OCD. Excuse me. So, TANGZU Waner Base Edition, the original, the Shimin Lee. There could be no other way but to have obviously the 7Hz Salnotes Zero and the TRN MT3. Why these particular IEMs? Well, because, easy. The Shimin Lee, because it serves as the basis for this, and in a second now you'll understand. Okay, the 7Hz Zero, because it was, or it still is, the reference for at $20 for a mature tuned IEM. Okay, if you want something which is very well tuned, properly tuned, has everything that you want, not the ultimate in terms of bass, no, in terms of bass quantity, not quality, but if you want everything which is going to sound, if you want an IEM that's going to sound good, it's going to sound correct, it's going to satisfy you, definitely the Salnotes is there. The MT3, very much for the same reasons, although graphically, you get the feeling that, this is going to be a bass monster by comparison, and it's going to have too much energy around 6, 7, 8K. No. In reality, when you hear it, it sounds really, really, really good, really good. The issue with the MT3, the problem here is tip. You have to get the right tip. It has to be a wide bore tip, and you have to make sure that it fits you properly and deep. If it fits you properly and deep, it's a home run. As for the Ola, I brought the Ola out because this is the base edition, because it has a very, very similar sound to the One Ear, very similar. Although it costs, of course, $40. It's $42, so it's more expensive. So you can buy 2 One Ears, but I thought it just happened. I actually just picked it up, listened to it while I was testing, and I was like, wow, this thing sounds exactly the same. And then when I looked at the graph, they graph very similar, and ultimately the sound is very similar between these two. Okay, now let's start in with the sound. The Shimin Lee, when it was launched, it was very apparent that its mid bass was nice and full and dynamic, but at the same time, that peanut gain and the fact that it peaked at just over 2Ks in such a a energetic manner as compared with the bass that it had, although it was a plentiful bass. But because of the way that it peaked so early, it made everything sound a little bit too forward, too in your face. Voices, certain instruments especially, could really kind of get to you very quickly. And well, I underwent a small little mod on another set of Shimin Lees that I have, and when I modified that other Shimin Lee, there was some controversy generated by that. But anyway, that's another story. And basically, the mod that I did on that Shimin Lee, and I now compared that graph with the Wan'er's graph, and it's basically the same thing. So what was done here, what I did to this, is basically what they've done here, which is what? Bring down that peak, shift it over slightly more to the right, bring it down, and make it then, instead of having kind of that initial peak that it had, dipped and then another peak and then dipped again, no, they made it have more like of a harmony style. So it rises, peaks, and then gradually comes down. That's what was done here, and that's what I did on that retune of the Shimin Lee, which completely changed the dynamics of the Shimin Lee and made it way more pleasurable to listen. Way more pleasurable to listen. Okay? So, that to say what? That this has got some really nice bass. The impact of the bass is not as felt or not as strong or as prominent as it is on the Shimin Lee, and I'm guessing that is down to the fact that perhaps they've altered the tuning slightly. Yes, I'm not going to say they haven't, but also the fact that it's using a plastic shell, which internally does create different resonances that a metal shell doesn't has differently. That's got different. So the bass on here, while over there it seems very much mid bass focused, over here that mid bass is warmer. It's a little bit more pleasant. Not that it's not good over there. It's just warmer. It just sounds more mature. Let's put it that way. Okay. While that there is a hard hit, and bam hits you hard, and that's it. This here, it hits you in a more mature manner, more relaxed manner. But it's got its power. It's got its presence. It's got its fullness. Nice texture. Nice details. Sometimes it can be a little bit slow. But again, I'm guessing that it's down to that issue that I just mentioned, the fact that they're using a plastic shell, and the fact that also, by retuning it, they've changed the overall characteristics of the bass. Sub bass into mid bass, into the mids, in my opinion, is done beautifully. No real bleed, nothing. Very nice. Mids, the way that the pin again is done, male voices, female voices, much more pleasant than what it was on the Shimin Lee. Everything just flows very nicely. It feels very natural. Tonally, it is very correct. It's a very nice IM when it comes to its tonality and timbre. It's very true to the origin. And then yes, it's not all perfect. Then there is occasions that there is some female artists, at least I've noticed, can sound a little bit, I wouldn't say edgy, but they just sound pushed. Okay. And then yes, we have the typical dip, and then the rise again, and of a couple of related, and then some little extension past 10k. Let's put it that way. I tried playing around with the tips to see if I could bring that extension up a little bit, but it was never really significant. It always stayed below what, for example, you get on the Zero, or what you get, for example, on the MT3, or what you get as well to a certain extent on the Ola bass. Nevertheless, it's got enough treble, it's got enough highs to complement the mids and to complement the bass that the IEM has, obviously. In terms of its technicalities, the soundstage, I found it more on the intimate side. I didn't particularly find the soundstage to be very wide. Although imaging was half decent, imaging was pretty good. Details also very good. It was capable of going to fetch some details very nicely. but it loses out ultimately in the last little detail that it can fetch to the likes of the 7 hertz and the MT3, and also to the Ola. It loses out to those little, the final little detail. It loses it out, but it's nothing that it's offensive or anything that you could say, oh no, it's a flaw, it's bad. No, it is, I think, overall a very well balanced IEM. The other thing that is also very noticeable from the first listen that you have on the Wan'er is that it's very easy to drive. So under the same volume levels, this thing is way louder, way louder. So I'm sure that obviously to get the best results, I always recommend you guys use a dongle or something. But I'm sure that with the phone, just connected up to a phone, what you get out of the Wan'er will satisfy, I think, a lot of people already. But obviously, if you do get a little dongle, that little extra power is welcomed, and it just tidies up. The thing that I notice, even when we're talking about ultra cheap earphones, MT1 for example, even a EDX, the thing that always is noticeable when you do give it a little bit of power is that you just feel that there's a sense of control that a phone, because of its low output, simply does not have. Okay, you connect this. I mean, a DAP is different, but a phone, it just doesn't have enough grunt to manage and to control everything properly. And when you connect this or any cheap IEM, like I was saying, to even if it's a simple little dongle, you obtain that control, and the overall sound might not even improve that dramatically, but you just feel a sense of everything is controlled. That's the best word I can basically use. It's difficult to sometimes kind of try and convey certain aspects. Anyway, continuing. So how does it fare next to the others? Well, next to the Shimini, I've basically already said what I thought. Next to the 7 hertz, which is probably one of the comparisons that everybody wants to know. In terms of construction, although the shell here doesn't offend me in the 7 hertz in any way. It's a well-built shell. The shape, it is what it is. But in terms of the build, I give the build to the 7 hertz. The build here it just feels more sturdy. It just feels better built. Okay. In terms of the overall accessories package, I'll probably also give it to 7 hertz. There's more accessories, although the box is smaller. There's just more accessories. Okay. Now, in terms of the sound, the truth is this: there isn't really much difference between the two. Yes, you do notice that there is more technical. You do notice that the 7 hertz, because it's got more energy up top, it's got more detailed retrieval. It's got a better sound stage. Imaging is about the same. Tone and tonality and timbre, I would say again they are very much equal to each other. It's then the bass and the mids on here, which just have that little extra energy, and with that energy, that extra warmth that comes with it, that in my opinion, for me at least, it just makes it more appealing with what I like listening. That's not to say that this is inferior or worse. No, it's just different. It's been done to be more clinical, let's put it that way, while this has been done to be more organic, let's put it that way as well. Okay, so I'm not going to really say that one is better than the other. It's what you want, what you desire, which is ultimately the same thing which happens with the MT3. Between these two, or between these three, and even between those two, when I tested them, I said that ultimately I liked the MT3 more because it just had that little bit of extra energy in the bass, which just complemented what I like listening to in a better manner. So it's the same thing here. Although here in the bass they are very equal, only on very few songs do you see that that extra bass that graphically you notice on the MT3, only on very, very few songs do you see it really manifesting itself. For example, I just ran some random tones at 20 hertz, 31.5 hertz, 50, so on and so forth. And at 31 hertz, for example, you can feel that this definitely has more guts than the 7 hertz, definitely more, and it just slightly edges out the 1 year, very slightly. Okay, under then real circumstances and the real music, okay, you don't notice a difference unless you are really listening to some very bass heavy EDM or something of the sort. That there you will notice that sub bass rumble just a little bit more than what you will notice on the 1 year. But overall, it's negligible. It's nothing that you can really pick out straight away very easily. No, you have to be very attentive to it. So again, the situation between these two is it's down to, well, this in terms of build again loses out to the MT3. Okay, that's the reality. But fit, I'll give the fit to the 1 year. Sound is, like I said, it's what you prefer, not really a real winner. Yeah, overall, that just takes everything, and that's it. Apologies. As I was going to say, as compared to the TANGZU Waner, the problem with the Waner really in having more or less success is the fact that it's priced at a value that's neither here or there. And what I mean by that is that it has, in terms of its build quality, which is more approximating this price range of $20, honestly. But it has the sound of a more expensive IEM of around $60-$70. I mean, its true competitors, the T2 DLC, the T3 Plus, the Aria, the HD Sound Heart Mirror Pro, even the Kima. This in terms of sound can compete with that. And what I'm basically want to say is that in terms of sound, it sounds similar to the 1 year, yes, but it's more polished. Okay, so what I can basically say here is that the 1 year is a Waner which has got a few more rough edges of the sound, but in the rest it's all better fit, everything. And it's a pity because I mean, you guys know that I like TANGZU, but I thought it actually would make sense to put this over here so that you guys can have a comparison in terms of sound, of how good actually the 1 year is. And the 1 year is very much capable of playing with IEMs which are way more expensive. Again, the same situation that happened with the 7 Hertz Zero and with the MT3. I mean, any one of these three IEMs here can easily play with IEMs in the $50, $60, $70 range and give them a good run for their money. That's the truth. So yeah, overall, I mean, well done. I guess congratulations to TANGZU is in order. Like I said, I would have liked a better shell. I mean, the shell already exists. It's here. Just a change of faceplate would have been suffice in my opinion, but that's just me. So well done to them. Let's see now what they will do to surpass this, because ultimately we already know how things are in the tri-fi world. So ultimately this is not going to last many months. There will be something to substitute it ultimately. So let's see how they do that, because they've set the bar high now. They set the bar pretty high for themselves right now. And yeah, basically we can now say that in the $20 price point, we now have three IEMs which can be considered ones with a more mature tuning, instead of just being fun and not worrying too much about certain aspects of sound. We now have three contenders: the TANGZU Waner, 7 Hertz, Salnotes Zero, and the TRN MT3. And that's it. Okay guys, I'll show you another graphs quickly in a second. And as always, like and subscribe. Any questions you might have, please feel free to ask. Okay, take care, bye bye. Hi guys, and welcome to the graphic section of the TANGZU Waner. Straight away, this is the graph of the Waner, and as you can see, and what I mentioned the base in the other part of the review, base is very nicely done. There's really no bleed or anything of the sort into the mids. I mean, by 300 hertz roughly, it's flat. So very nicely done. By comparison, for example, if I show you the Shimin Lee, which is the Shimin Lee. There we go. If I show you the Shimin Lee, and although graphically when you look at it, it doesn't seem like it, but the Shimin Lee had a more focus on the mid bass, and it kind of a little small roll off into the sub bass. So this focus on the mid bass, coupled with the fact that they are using a metal shell there, does give the bass a little bit more of an impact. You can feel more that thump on the Shimin Lee, which is not as noticeable, or rather, it's more subdued, it's more mature, it's more controlled in the Waner. The Waner does it in a more grown-up manner. As I was saying, so nice sub bass, mid bass transition, every nice pin again, peaking again, just past roughly 2.5K, which again, if I show you the Shimin Lee peaked earlier and peaked higher, and this difference here, which when you look at it, you think, but this is only like 3 or 4 dBs. No, it's noticeable. It's very noticeable, and it just makes things very, And then the funny thing, which I also mentioned in the review, was although you obviously do not have these double peaks. These double peaks have been completely reduced, taken away. It's got more this kind of harmonish kind of glide. For some reason, and maybe it could have been just me, or maybe it could have been just a particular recording, but on some female songs, I could feel a little bit. It wasn't that it was aggressive, but it was just it was just a little bit too energetic. But hey, you know what? Just forget about it, leave it. Past 10K, you can definitely see that the Shimin Lee has more energy as compared to the Waner. Although you don't really notice it, or you perceive it as that, because this whole area here kind of overpowers that. So you don't really notice this extra energy past 10K, so that brilliance, that air, you don't notice it, okay? So that's the Shimin Lee out of the way there. Well, let me just show you the Ola now. Okay, that's the Ola, and as you can see, the Ola and the TANGZU, they kind of have very similar kind of vibe going. More mid bass on the Ola graphically. Audibly, you notice there's a little bit more, but you notice above all again the similarity in terms of it's very mature the way the mid bass is done. It's not a thump which is trying to drill your head or anything of the sort. And then in this area here, where yes, you do see that the Ola is more energetic, what you do have or get is a little bit more ability to get details sorted out, which the TANGZU kind of struggles. So there's just a little bit more polish in this part of the sound. Female vocals, they sound just a little bit more extra crisp. Cymbals, just everything's just a little bit extra. So it's more polished. It's like I was saying in the review, the Ola is a more polished up version of the Waner's sound. So that's the Ola out of the way. Let's of course the 7 hertz. That's the 7 hertz. Straight away, what you do notice again, like I mentioned now for the Ola, is that yes, more detail, more extension up top, so a little bit more twinklies and sparklies, I like calling it. Okay, but then there's a little extra thinness in terms of the bass performance in the 7 hertz that is also noticeable. The graph, you just notice it. It's not as much as the graph says here, or not as little as the graph says here, but it's noticeable. It's especially on like more EDM and more rap. You notice that the TANGZU can keep up and give that sense of energy that's required, while the 7 hertz just feels a little bit more not at as ease to do that. But again, look, this is minor differences. This is never really like day and night differences that are gonna like, oh my god. Oh yes, the MT3. MT3. The MT3, as you can see graphically, it seems, oh no, this is going to be bass monster. No, the MT3's bass is very much the same as the, let me just take here the 700 out. It's very much the type of the bass of the Wan'er, very similar. Again, what you do notice is more detail capability on the MT3, more twinklies, more sparklies. So both the MT3 and the 700 Zero, they are superior to the TANGZU in terms of what details they can go and fetch. But you know, we then enter that question: is it the way they are doing it? Is it the more correct audiophile manner, and is it tonally correct? Is it timbre correct? Is it what you want? For me, it's like I said, the two of them, the MT3 and the 7Hz, are more clinical, while the TANGZU is more organic. Okay, so it's basically down to what you prefer. And then in terms of the bass, you do see that the bass of the MT3 and the Wan'er are the ones that are the fuller, the more lush bass, while the 7Hz is the thinner sounding in the bass. But overall, any one of these three IEMs, honestly, you can't really go wrong. They are, all of them are excellent. The build quality, obviously, of the MT3 being a metal shell is the best out of the three. Then the 7Hz, and then the Wan'er. I don't know. It's their decision. I just feel that they could have done a little bit better work with the shell. And that's that, guys. I mean, that's basically it. There's nothing more really that I can say. As always, like and subscribe. Any questions you guys might have, please feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to reply. Okay, you have a good one. Take care.